you know, at first it was a little touch and go, but I mean, now it's just like, just taking off and just skyrocketing.
When we did move her into her holding space, what was closer to the adults, and she had her soaking pool set up with a ramp and everything, yeah, one of the big goals was like, one, start building some independence with her once she was healthy and able to start spending a little bit of time alone. It was always one of our goals to get her comfortable alone. So that was something that we took really slowly and kind of built her confidence and let her get comfortable with that on her own time.
Once we didn't think someone needed to be cuddling her all night long, I would step away for a few hours. I would keep my eye on her, but just not be like right next to her. And then it got to where we knew she was okay. So I would stay out of the room, and just check in on her.
We finally got her her nice soaking pool all set up, and it was heated and, you know, thermoregulated. And the only real issue was like, all right, she has to be able to get in and out of it on her own without supervision. And so we set up her little ramps, and, you know, we had padding on the floors around it in case she did fall or take a tumble.
And then once we realized that she's basically sleeping through the night and she's fine when I'm not there, so we felt comfortable leaving her.
Having the soaking pool with her 24/7 was a big deal because hippos need to be in the water. Their skin is so unique, and, you know, it's 2 inches thick for the underlayers, but the epidermis, the outermost layer, is actually really thin, and they can lose water really, really easily, which means they can dehydrate really quickly.
At one point, when she had her special little area she lived in, she had her rectangle pool and her matted flooring and everything, and she could, you know, go up and down the ramp all by herself. All of that was really important. But I remember I was like, well, the big hippos really love to play with the hose. Let's see what she does because, you know, why not? And she opened her mouth just like an adult hippo and went right towards the hose and just sat under it. And that was one of my favorite times, seeing her just, I don't know, embrace being a real hippo.
So I think every one of those milestones was just her telling us over and over again, like, I'm healthy and I know how to be a hippo.
More incisor tusks right there and there. Those are new. Want this? Can you take it?
Every bottle she took, that was encouraging.
Yeah, you're such a good girl.
You start off with, you know, 1 human bottle, and then you go to, okay, maybe it's 2. And I believe there was a picture where there was maybe 6 sitting in front of her. And then you're thinking, okay, what's the next size bottle up?
Good morning, princess.
And you're going to go to livestock type bottles. So maybe there was a lamb bottle. And the largest on the market is the calf bottle. And she had several of those, I believe 3 or 4. Now there was a taller calf bottle, so basically it held more. And so we got to the point where it was 2, and they were very tall bottles.
It is weird to go back and look at the size differences of the bottles that she's progressed through, but yeah, it is a lot of milk at once.
She was up to 4 gallons of milk a day. She's fed 3 times a day right now. We're in the weaning process. So we've introduced, several months ago, we started introducing the hippo adult food on a small scale to try to get her to understand that. So having mom pre-chew some hay can then give some of those good bacteria from mom to the child.
It's a way for babies to inoculate themselves, so they kind of get their gut flora going. We're giving it to her as a sterile probiotic, but to get it naturally from the parents is a good thing. So all that stuff plays into a role of her developing her gut flora inside of her.
We started fairly early, just giving a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Things that maybe an adult hippo wouldn't eat but might encourage a young animal to consume. Our hippos love their beet pulp, and so we take the beet pulp and we soak it a little, and it, for whatever reason, they love that. So, you know, offering a little bit of that to Fiona, she then turned around and said, oh, well, I like this. And then over time, knowing, you know, seeing it there, seeing the adult hippos, maybe in Henry, eating the hay and the grain pellets that we have, and the beet pulp, or maybe a little bit of lettuce, she then got that into her to say, okay, I'm going to consume that.
You know, I think Her whole world's going to change once she's realizes she likes solid food. I think that's just going to open up this whole new world of, oh my god, food. I can see her definitely going crazy.
It felt really normal, and sometimes I was like ready to put her in the bigger pools before anyone else was, or before we actually were able to, I guess. It was very important, though, to take things slow because there was no point in risking anything.
Getting her into the bigger pools, like the adult pools, even in shallow water, that was really exciting.
Watching her just make progress with little things like holding her breath. You know, that was such a struggle early on. We had the weird dive responses where she was holding her breath and she shouldn't have been, and her lungs were underdeveloped. So when she was really little, we worried about, like, how's she going to do in the water? Is she going to be able to hold her breath, or is she going to always have to stay at the surface? But it all worked out okay. Everything seems to have developed fine. She can hold her breath for at least 2 minutes now at this point, so she's doing good.
As much as I worried about a lot of different things, once we were to the point that she was progressing, I was never worried about her in the water. She did so well.
I think my favorite moment of, like, she's got this, it was when we had her in really deep water, like 6 or 7 feet deep water, and she was underwater, and we didn't know if she was going to be strong enough to push herself up, so we were increasing the water just by 1 foot at a time. And what Fiona did was she misjudged, and she pushed up from the bottom and didn't make it to the surface. And then she just very calmly let herself float down and pushed up again and made it to the surface. And that moment was just like, oh yeah, because she's a hippo.
They do have a lot of fat, but hippos are really dense and they sink. They cannot float. And it's really fun to watch her when she pops up to the top, and then sometimes she just goes down really, really slowly. You just see her sink.
Yeah, we did have Jen, our dive safety officer, kind of acclimate her to the equipment in the indoor pools initially, just so that she didn't freak out that there's a human with a weird outfit on.
It was really funny the first day that we had her in with the divers. The divers in there and with their mask and her gloves and everything, and Fiona goes into the one and sees this person. She doesn't know what it is. This monster of scuba gear and everything. She just was terrified. And so, we kind of took a couple steps back, had the diver take off her goggles, take off her gloves, talk to her so that, it's like, okay, you know this person. It's someone that you've known your entire life. Once she kind of saw that it was a person and all that stuff, she got a little bit braver, went and checked her out. And then they started to play and had a great time underwater. And
baby steps, literally. So, yeah, it seemed to work. And then when we did it on exhibit, I don't know that she even really paid any attention to them.
So it's interesting to think about the water scenario, because if Fiona had been born on time, healthy, full term, she probably would have been born in the indoor pools at the temperature of the water that they're at. And we wouldn't have batted an eye. If she had been born in those conditions, she would have been able to handle it. She's tough. Babies do that. But since Fiona was a preemie, thermoregulation has always been a challenge with her. So early on, we really had to monitor the water temperature. We didn't want to put her in a pool, and even if it was a few degrees colder than her body temperature, that would mean she would have to exert energy staying warm in that environment, which we didn't want. We wanted all of her energy focused on developing muscle and growing and just being and staying healthy. So yeah, early on we had the pools heated to a lovely 98 to 100 degrees. And then as she got bigger and healthier and we got more confident that she could start to handle colder temperatures, we'd kind of scale it back little by little. Probably not more than a few degrees each week. And it wasn't until about, I don't know, maybe the 80-degree mark that the keeper staff started to feel it too. We were like, this is kind of chilly. It went from being fun and enjoyable to being like, oh, this is kind of miserable now. But Fiona could handle it. Like, she was like, I got this. You guys are wimpy. So she did fine. She did great all the way up through the progression of decreasing the temperature all the way to, I think 65 degrees was our goal temperature, because that was roughly the temperature of the outdoor exhibit at the time.
The water was probably one of the biggest hurdles, but it's the biggest things we had to deal with.
And we mostly monitored her weight gains again. So if she had stopped increasing in weight, if like the calories stayed the same, the exercise stayed the same, if everything else was staying the same, but she started to lose weight, that would have been an indication to us, like, okay, her body's having to exert a ton of energy to stay warm.
So we wanted to introduce Fiona to the outdoor pool while she was still with humans, because we could control that better and be there in case she got herself into any trouble.
Because it was so deep, and we didn't know if she was really strong enough to bounce all the way up from the deepest part of the pool. It's about 9 feet down there.
So again, as overprotective parents, we had, I don't know, like a dozen people out there in that large pool.
But we did have, obviously, divers in the water to make sure that she could get to the surface, and then a few of us were in wetsuits as well.
We all felt so much better having the dive team in there with her, just in case, because, you know, we'd been in the indoor pools quite a bit, and we kind of maxed out at about 6 feet, 6.5 feet deep.
There's a chance that she can't get up to 9 feet, but we showed her where the shallow ends were. We had all of the people in there to help if necessary.
There was no other way to practice other than, like, all right, if you could handle that, hopefully you can handle this.
We decided that if she tried 2 times to get to the top of the water and couldn't, that's when we would intervene and have somebody push her to the top.
And she did great. Like, we never had to intervene, really. It might have taken her 2 tries when she was first figuring it out to propel herself up strongly enough, but she was a champ. Like, we were all nervous, but she's like, hey guys, I got this. I know what I'm doing.
But once we got over a little bit of that fear, I mean, she was having a good old time. She didn't care.
And so we had everything you needed out there, and we probably could have done it with no one out there with her, because she was like, I got this, no big deal.
We're lucky their instincts are, like, written right into their DNA, and she just knew what to do. She was like, I got this.
Getting her out into, you know, the exhibit pool for everybody to see and swimming with her, there's nothing better that I've ever done than that. It was so fun.
Glass isn't something that animals would experience in the wild. It's not a natural thing. So the first time they see it, sometimes they're like, wait a second, are we sharing space? Can I get through that? How did you get over there? So early on, especially with Fiona's affinity for people, she loves people, she would see them on the other side of the glass and just kind of focus on trying to get to them. Eventually, she's a smart cookie, though. She learned, like, okay, I guess I can't get over there. And she's like, well, you're over there, I'm over here, I'm going to do my thing. But there have been a lot of little things that we've had to acclimate her to very slowly on this exhibit.
I mean, early on, it was like just day by day and hoping, like, is she ever going to be healthy? Is she ever going to be able to go in with other hippos? Is she ever going to have a normal life for a zoo hippo? And seeing her out there on exhibit for that first time and having so many of Team Fiona there for it was like this big culmination of like, oh man, this feels really good. This is all worth it. Every bit of blood, sweat, and tears that went into it, 100% worth it.